right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Thursday, Robin, you and your mom are going to do what you ladies like to do. You're going to go to the Ocala Civic Theater.
Oh, yeah. We buy season tickets every year, and we love opening night.
And this opening night, this Thursday, is a play, a comedy called The Foreigner. Our good friend Chip Morris is the director of that show, and he's in the studio right now. He's here with Anthony Palumbo, another good friend from the past, playing Charlie Baker. I have my cheat sheet right here. And somebody new we're meeting, Kyle DeNegro. He's playing the Reverend David Marshall Lee. This sounds like a fun show, and I'm going to ask Chip to... good morning, gentlemen.
Good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Good to have you with us. You can't get out of talk show mode,
you're right. I cannot.
You're like the host all of a sudden, right?
I know.
Thanks to be with us.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be with you.
You have to take the other seat today.
Okay.
You can't. So I'll ask you, Chip, to give us the thumbnail sketch of the storyline. Sounds funny.
It is. It's a very clever show. It was written in 1983, 1984 by a guy named Larry Shue, who unfortunately died in a plane crash a year later.
Oh, wow.
So his body of work is fairly limited. The other piece that you might or might not be aware of is called The Nerd. But The Foreigner is it's a fascinating piece. It opens up with two English gentlemen who are traveling from England, and they arrive in Tillman County, Georgia, at the bed and breakfast of Miss Betty Meeks.
Okay.
And Froggy is a non-commissioned officer with the British Army, and he comes annually to do a bomb tactics course with the military. And he travels with his buddy Charlie, and Charlie doesn't want to be there. His wife is in hospital. She has approximately 6 months to live. He doesn't want to go, but Froggy convinces him to travel for 3 days to Georgia to kind of get his mind right and be dealing, because he's just very despondent. It turns out that Charlie is this incredibly shy individual.
Oh, okay. Like Anthony Palumbo? It's kind of like
very
that?
much like Anthony. So it's typecasting is really what it is. But he's so shy he can't have conversations. He has a dread of meeting anyone in public.
This is why I got into this business, by the way.
Not wanting to be in public.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
Right. I got it. As long as we're anonymous, leave just voices on the air, we're good. But he's very, very shy, and so he and Froggy concocts a plan where Charlie will pretend to be someone from another country who doesn't speak or understand any English, so he won't have to have any conversations, and he won't be thought to be rude by not having any conversations. And once this is set up, it sets up a scenario where all of the other actors in Tillman County wind up being comfortable with the fact that Charlie doesn't understand what they're saying, and that he becomes basically a fly on the wall, is able to then listen to their conversations and their deepest, darkest secrets, and then everybody in this show really is in a difficult place. And the beauty of this show is that through the power of the foreigner, who is pretty much an other. He's not like anybody. You're not from around here, are you?
Yeah, and I was just going to say, maybe a British person wouldn't understand a Georgian accent anyway.
Well, actually, believe it or not, a lot of people who are actors will take a Southern accent and turn that into a British accent.
Oh, really? There's something similar.
They're very close, and it's based on the fact that people from England were originally brought to Georgia as prisoners, but they were originally brought to Georgia so that
I didn't know that.
Georgia was a prison state. So during the colonial times, but so there is a similarity in the languages, and you can actually transfer some of the English sound into a Georgian accent.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting the way different dialects happen. But anyway, Charlie winds up being the hero of the show because he changes everything and changes everybody. And again, it's a fascinating play. It's not It's not really going to give you any kind of deep meaning about anything in the world,
Just
but
fun.
it's a beautiful, fun
Just
farce,
fun.
and it's great fun.
Robin and her mom will have a good time, right?
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Looking forward to
Well, they always do. When's the last time you saw something that you really, really didn't like?
Never.
Okay, I mean that's.
No, you guys always do a great job.
Yeah, that's one of the beautiful things about the Ocala Civic Theater that there's such a dedicated staff and just a huge volume of volunteers. I mean, we have.
Are you active, Chip, in the role of as casting director? Do you pick who plays what
Yes.
parts?
Yeah, we do auditions, and I get to decide who is going to be in the show.
And Kyle, he's the Reverend. How did he get picked?
I came out and auditioned,
Uh-huh.
and I said I was, looking for any part. And
You just wanted to act?
yeah, just
Okay.
wanted to act.
Okay, nice.
Chip thought I'd make a good reverend. So
Tell me about your character.
Reverend David Lee is one of those, holier than thou, or however you put it.
Oh, really?
Really?
I know some of them.
Yeah. And so I think at the beginning of the show, he's very beloved by everyone there, and they believe that he is who he appears to be on the surface, but that ends up not being the case.
So did you have to use any reference from real life in order to be that character?
No. I think it's quite a stretch for me, which I'm enjoying.
Is that right?
I'm enjoying. Yes,
Is it hard to be funny, or does the writing do it for you?
For this show, I think the writing really makes it just happen. I feel like, I don't know.
Larry Shue's awesome.
Yeah, the writing itself is
It really is the key
really-
to comedy. Yes, timing is important, and that's something that you can learn.
So this is part of your role, also making sure they get it right.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
it's actually one of those things where the actors themselves, I poke and prod and get them to, but it's really about them winding up believing their own roles. In other words, you wind up in a state of mind to where the character that you're portraying is real. And once you get to that point where
You guys are so good. When you're sitting in the audience, Robin has been there a lot, and I've been there a lot this past year, to more of them. Anthony, you actually made me laugh and cry in the same play. When you did
Over the river.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes, it was
Show.
so
Yeah,
awesome,
that
so
was,
good.
You were marvelous.
Thank you. That was a hard show. When the stretch of the ability. What's in your toolkit as an actor? Can you make a person cry and then 30 seconds later get them to laugh?
Wow,
get
you were
them
so-
to
you were so
ponder.
good.
I mean, and that is when theater becomes very rewarding. But
You and Chip are both alumni of WOCA, by the way.
Yes,
and
yes.
and Fred Mullen was in that one also.
Fred Mullen,
another
yes,
WOCA
yes.
alumni.
That was a unique show in that the generation of actors in it. I felt very fortunate to be part of that cast. So
Is that right? Yeah,
yeah, that was challenging. And whenever a show comes up, I mean, Chip's one of the few directors that will cast me, indeed. And and I slipped them $100, and it works every
Whatever
time.
works.
Yeah, exactly.
So how come the prettiest actress is farthest from the camera? Chip, you should not be
they
the
must be
closest to
talking
the
about you.
camera at all.
I can switch.
Oh, you thought I meant you, Anthony?
Oh my!
Catherine Sims, we have not met you. Good. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and who do you play?
I play Catherine. My name's Athena.
Oh, you play Catherine. Your
Yeah,
name is Athena. I'm
sorry.
sorry, I had it backwards. Okay, so all right. Tell me about your character.
Catherine, she's a very interesting character to me. She's a debutante, or an ex-debutante technically. She comes from a very privileged background, and you come to meet her, and she is just absolutely not very nice.
Oh, she's privileged, but like a
She's one of
nasty
those
person.
spoiled people.
Oh, okay.
He's a screamer.
She's yelling all the time. But you kind of find out why as the play goes on, and she becomes a bit softer. And it's a fun transition to do.
As an actress, do you need to know why? Is it important to you to know like the depth of the character, even though it may not be completely in the play itself?
Absolutely. Like, I like to sit down and come up with backstories for all of my characters throughout their
Is that
lives.
right? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And your character is playing opposite Kyle's character.
Yes.
Yep.
Your love interest.
Their love interest,
But
yes.
you have both opposite personalities, it seems.
Yes.
Very much so.
She's nice and he's not.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the reverse of that.
Yes.
And as the play develops, we wind up again through this magic of this particular character, Charlie, and his ability to transform the situation. Everybody winds up changing who the characters are, and we find out these truths. And I can't give away too much because there are some serious spoilers in this show, and
we don't want to give them away.
No, because you got to come see this thing. It's a fabulous show.
Can I ask all of you? I'm going to do a Barbara Walters kind of a question. Let's compare the play to a clump of clay on the table, and you're going to mold it into something. Does this happen with a play? Like all of a sudden it starts to take form, and you start to realize what it's going to be? I guess as the director, this is your job, right? To make sure.
That's exactly what the job is. When we start off, it's a bunch of unconnected lines, and it becomes a story. It becomes something that you can feel the entire momentum of the show. You know where exactly you're going, how you're getting there, and that winds up being a process starting off. And again, since we're volunteers, typically in a professional setting, everybody would come to the first rehearsal off book, completely having their lines memorized. They'd have some idea of just exactly what it is, and then there's a 2-week, 40 hours a week, 80 hours that you put it up. But everybody comes ready, effectively knowing all their lines. Well, in volunteer theater, we have roughly a 6-week process of 15 hours a week, 7 to 10, Monday through Friday.
Wow, you put a lot into this.
Yes, no.
Which is why it's so good. Well, you guys really always give us a great show.
But it's about the same amount of time, if you will. You've got 6 hours, 6 weeks of 15 hours a week. So it's about 90 hours as opposed to 80 hours in a 2-week period of time.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we don't come to the rehearsals off book, because we cast it on a Thursday, and then we start rehearsal on a Friday.
Oh, wow.
That same Friday?
I'm sorry, we start rehearsals on a Monday, typically.
Oh wow, that's still 3 days.
Yeah,
Gosh.
I mean, it's like we do the auditions on a Monday and a Tuesday, and it's cast by Thursday, and then we're in rehearsal on a Monday, and 6 weeks later, we got to show up.
Wow.
But the answer is to your clay question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you start off with a lump of clay, and at the end of it, you wind up with what you would hope is a beautiful piece of art.
do you all notice that it's taking form at the same time?
Yeah. We all know when we're doing well and when we're not.
Suddenly working.
A good cast. See, what I enjoy. I'm going to blow some sunshine your way, Chip. I think what I like about a Chip Morris production is the way he casts a show. He casts.
You have a great radio voice. Have you ever thought about radio?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, once or twice. After getting fired 3 or 4 times from the same station, I decided to give it up. And will you just settle down, Larry? But Chip casts a really good palette of actors. And he knows that the personalities are going to meld. I don't know if he does it intentionally or it's instinctive, but it just works. And you've been in enough shows with him, you know that you're there, your other actors and actresses are going to pick you up, and vice versa. And when the show starts, it's one show. 2 weeks later, it has melded into something even better.
Oh, okay.
It's still the same show. We're still on the script. We're still, the intent of the show. But the way we're portraying it, the creativity that we're putting into it, that is the most rewarding thing for me. That and just getting off book, making sure to remember the lines. That's always a real challenge.
Does it help or hurt if you've seen the show before by somebody else?
Depends.
Yeah.
Depends on the show.
Kyle, do you want to answer that one?
I think it depends on the person. I think for some of us, if we've seen it before, it might benefit, and some of us it won't. I actually did this same show in college, and the show we are doing, as opposed to the show that I did 3 or 4 years ago, is a completely different show.
Really?
Honest to goodness. Same exact book, same exact lines, the way it comes together. With a director and a cast, it is a completely different show.
You look on the internet, and you look up The Foreigner on the internet, you'll get 5 different, samples to look at. You'll get 5 different portrayals of the same show.
Okay, so and do some of them make you cringe, like they're not done well?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Certainly.
Yeah? So do you avoid whatever mistakes they make?
Well, that's what motivates us to get off book.
Let's put it this way.
Okay.
I do my dead level best to try not to look at a lot of different interpretations. In other words,
I would too. I don't blame
One
you.
of the things that I like best is is coming at a script and building with the cast an organic presence that happens on its own. And again, that's about the characters believing who they are. And that's something that they have to learn themselves. In other words, that's something that, I do sometimes will help them with line readings, or if you said this a little bit differently, it might be funnier, those kinds of things, or try this in this direction. But it really is about a cast coming together. That's really one of the best things about doing a show is we become a family. And we become a family that has memories forever. And we become a family that, maybe there's a little infighting at times, just like any family would have. And yet we love each other.
Should have a reality show.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes at the theater.
It's a good idea.
Believe me, there is enough going on behind the scenes that would fill any album. There's people doing gags on each other. There's people there's fun things that happen backstage.
You wouldn't know anything about that.
I wouldn't know anything.
No. Chip is right down the middle. God, he doesn't joke with.
Again, it's about having fun, and it's about enjoying the process. And you do all your hard work in that first 6 weeks. The payoff is the performance. That's where you get your paycheck. That's where when the audience is with you, there's no feeling in the world that I've ever experienced that when the audience is with you and they are, just zoned into what you're doing.
Do you prefer to have a funny show to direct as opposed to something serious? Oh, really?
No, it's not for me, it's about the process, and it's about, I enjoy all different aspects.
Because I would imagine the payoff would be laughter in this case.
Well, sometimes the payoff is a serious appreciation of whatever the work is, or.
But how do you know that? I mean, right away.
By their applause, by the way they react.
Anthony, you couldn't tell I was crying, right, in that other show you did?
Well, you could answer your own question, can't you? I mean, it's a comedy. Yeah, comedy is. Who is it? W.C. Fields. Comedy is hard. It's comedy is much harder than drama in many respects. I mean, you have to be a good dramatic actor to evoke laughter, but you have to start with that ability to evoke some sort of emotion, whether it be dramatic or comedy. To do both, that's
Anthony. So you're playing Charlie. You're the guy who.
Yes, I'm Charlie Baker.
He's the foreigner.
You're the foreigner.
I'm the emotionally distraught chap.
So do you hear the two young people to your left and right and find out that they're in love? Is that part of the funny?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, I don't want to give away the whole show. I mean, people have to.
We need a clip.
Buy their ticket.
We don't have a clip to run.
No, we don't have a clip. It's radio. Good heavens, man! What's the matter with you?
Catherine, when you're in rehearsals and you're rehearsing your character, then when you go to dress rehearsal and actually put your costume on and everything, does your personality change?
Oh, absolutely. For me, it becomes very real the first time that you put the costume on. Then you start to feel how you hold yourself more. Like, I tend to stand up a ton straighter as soon as I get into Catherine's costume. Mm-hmm. And I notice that, like, everything kind of centers down. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite part of the rehearsal process is dress rehearsal.
That and a flask of whiskey. That does it.
So when you're somebody who's completely different than yourself and you have family or friends in the audience, does that make it harder, or does it not affect you at all?
I make my whole family come see the show. I love when they come see something that I've put a bunch of time into.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah. So do they know in advance what to expect? Or do they have fun with you after the show to say, "Oh my gosh, it was so great," and that kind of thing? My
younger sisters especially, they love to come up to me and they'll start being like, "When you said that was, oh my gosh." But we all, we'll go out to dinner, we'll talk about it. I try not to spoil the show too much for them, so whenever I'm doing lines, I try not to do them with them. I do them with friends and things.
Okay.
You have you have worked with seasoned actors before, like Randall Mooring, Fred Mullen. I've been going to the show since 1973 and seen the process, but now you're the up-and-coming generation and you're the mentors for the younger generation. You have an awesome responsibility not just to draw in brand new younger actors, but the brand new younger crowd too.
Well, the theater process it's a business at the end of the day. You've got to do good shows, otherwise nobody buys tickets to come see you. So I think the process is you get really involved involved in the craft. And when you see young folks coming in and auditioning, whatever, you really gather around them and support them. And it's really not an age-centered industry in that you can be young, you can be old, you can still have the talent and the gift to do what we do. But yes, indeed, there is advice sharing, there's support, and vice versa. I mean, just because you've been around the theater a long time doesn't mean you get hung up. I mean, it's happened to me several times, and I've got members of the cast, some have never been on the stage, and yet they're the ones supporting me. So it's really familial, and it's very rewarding to be part of a show, especially like this, because it's a very dynamic show, a lot of moving parts, a lot of effects. I'm glad I'm not a director, because I would be.
Does it change once you get started? Once the first show has been on, do you say, oh, wait, next time let's do it this way?
Well, let's put it this way. I've never seen a show that didn't grow. And the impact of the audience, art, we say it all the time. Without an audience, it's just a rehearsal. But when the audience shows up, there's an electricity, and there's a crossing of those lines as far as the interaction with the audience and the cast. The lights are always going to be the same. The sound effects are always going to be the same, or we hope they will. Sometimes they aren't. It just happens. But the energy that transfers between an audience and a cast is really what makes it art. I mean, that's the transfer of emotion.
Yeah.
And so, the show grows in that I know where typically there's going to be laugh lines. And we feel like this is where you're going to have those kinds of moments. And yet, the audience is going to react differently every night in different places.
Good audiences and not so good audiences, right?
Well, let me put it this way. My philosophy has always been there isn't a bad audience. If the audience doesn't react properly, look to yourself.
Okay.
I mean, in other words, I've always believed that if you do the show right, the audience is going to.
Do you go to all the shows as a director once it's all done?
No, I typically will go for the first weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I've let go of the bowling ball.
Then they're on their own, right?
Yeah, the bowling ball, I can't control it anymore. and so it does grow. It does. There are nuances that we will find based on the reactions with the audience. We know that Tony has a gift for his rubber face, and sometimes.
Thank you, Chip.
Sometimes, well, I'm just saying. Sometimes, just raising an eyebrow.
Yeah.
Is enough for a peal of laughter that you wind up going that, okay, well, I know that I've got that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
And so I've got a little laughter. It's starting to die down a little bit, and then you give them the eyebrow or the look or a turn to the head, and boom, they laugh again. Well, that's not something you ever forget.
Yeah, I was watching an interview with Gene Wilder, and he was saying that when he first got into the business, he said, everybody's laughing at me. He said to Mel Brooks, he said, what is it? I mean, people laughing at me. He goes, well, you're going to get that the rest of your life. It was just something about his face. And so they would always cast him in funny roles.
Sure.
So he had made a living out of it.
Can you put on the same production just like out on the lawn without a set, or is the set one of the characters?
The set is a character, and you could put this show outside. But you'd have to do probably minimalist work in order to create some kind of a backdrop for it. But yes, in some cases, the set is a character and sets the character. And the lighting and the effects and all the rest of that stuff can't be done necessarily outside in the light. You have to have a dark house in order to do lightning and to do.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes they don't work in the theater. No, just kidding.
Live theater's live theater. Sometimes things happen, and the fun of it is that the audience does not have a script. They don't know what you're supposed to be saying.
That's true. Yeah.
Things happen, and you have to react to it, and you got to have your head in the game. You got to listen to the other actors because they're going to basically tell you what you need to know.
And this is a logical script too. I mean, if you're playing a role off of some other actor, if you listen to what they're saying, they're actually feeding you your next line. But you got to pay attention.
Does that always happen? I mean, you guys are
No.
veterans. with
Sometimes there are shows that are very disjointed.
And there's also those things that happen to a cast called going to Guam.
Yes.
And that means that you're not paying attention, and all of a sudden there's a pause,
Yes.
and you think, oh, it's me. I better say my line now, shouldn't I? Gosh.
Or when the stage manager says, Tony, where did you go in that scene? You know, it's like, I don't know.
And Kyle, did you recognize the chemistry between you and Catherine from the very
Athena.
beginning?
Athena's her name.
Athena.
That's a good question.
I'm sorry.
I think so. I think I felt it develop over time. I mean, it took a couple weeks because we walked in not even knowing each other at all. I mean, so it took a couple weeks of Kyle got to know Athena, and then I feel like once we had
The marriage is set for June now, isn't it? Or no?
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is both of these characters start off in a place that we think that they are. So when you talk about the chemistry between these characters, in this particular case, it's a false chemistry.
Right.
Ah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So that was actually fun too.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
No, it's okay. It's just it's
It's live radio.
It's,
It's like live
you know,
video.
it's this in this particular show. As I said, pretty much everybody in the show, with the exception of Froggy and Owen, who are two of these other characters, they're playing different roles. They're pretending to be something that they're not, and or they're in a place where they're either in a really bad place, and like Betty. Betty's in a very bad place as she starts. She's a kindly older woman, but
She's the woman in the poster
yes,
here? Okay.
but she's not in a happy place at all. And again, through the magic of theater, all these different things come together, and everybody winds up in a good place except for two of them.
happy.
Yeah.
The Civic Theater, the Ocala Civic Theater, Chip, yourself, Anthony, and now we have two new young friends. You guys make Ocala a better place. Thank you for what you do and for taking some time to share it with us here.
Thank you.
Everybody, the show starts, The Foreigner, on Thursday. Robin will be there with her mom, and
Opening night with
you guys will
Honey
be up on
Bake
stage. Look for Robin and her mom.
All right.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you.
Thank you
I
all.
appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
We'll be right back.
Spring is bursting out all over at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens in Ocala, and you've just got to see for yourself this